Welcome, welcome to the Mystic Path. This is your full moon chit chat and card pull. Got some notes here. We're just going to jump right in and get started. Full disclaimer, it's been downpouring rain here on and off all day, and sometimes it gets loud. So, my apologies if that occurs. Also, for full disclaimer, anybody who watches this channel knows sometimes my cat Watson loves to jump up here and be involved. One of our subscribers nicknamed him the Mystic Cat, which I find hilarious and appropriate because I have two cats, and one of them, Sophia, she's in here right now, but she has zero desire she has zero interest in any of this stuff. Whenever I'm here at my altar doing anything, she'll just stand in on the other side of the living room and give me looks like, what in the world are you doing over there? Whereas her younger brother, Watson, completely the opposite. He jumps up here, like whether I'm using the altar or not, he's always up here on the altar. He comes and plays with the crystals. He sometimes will bring me crystals. He'll just pick them up in his mouth and bring them to me wherever I am in the house. He loves playing when I get the cards out. He usually comes and jumps up here and wants to be involved. So one of our subscribers fittingly nicknamed him the Mystic Cat because he participates a lot. And full disclaimer, that's a cat toy right now. If you can hear that, my Sophia, she accidentally activated this cat toy. And, I always joke that she's like a queen or a princess in another life because everything is like below her. And literally, she just activated that toy and then was glaring at the toy like, how dare you move in my presence? Like, that's just, she's got a very regal kind of attitude. Anyway, let's get started. So we have full moon in Aquarius coming up. Leo season. I'm a Leo. My birthday's in 2 weeks. So let's give a shout out to all my fellow Leos out there. In this reading, we're going to be using the Moonology and Whispers of Healing because I love these healing cards. We use them a lot when we're actually lately since the pandemic, the guides, they want us focused on healing aspects of ourselves. So we've been using these cards quite a bit. Anyway, okay, so let's get started. So it's Leo season, full moon in Aquarius coming up. This moon is going to bring some intense energy with it, okay? And this energy could create challenges, tension, irritation. So I'm just kind of going to talk about, because it's very intense, this energy that's coming in. So it could, if you're not real good yet at using your tools and living from a loving, balanced, emotional place, there could be some triggers coming in for you. This moon's energy is really bringing in the energy that's going to force us to look at the mother wound. Okay? So any of you who have serious wounds from your childhood in relation to your mother, those are going to be coming up right now. And the reason for that, the reason these things come up is for us to look at them, right? The universe pushes certain energies out that's going to force us to deal with certain issues that we don't like to deal with, right? Like, who wants to deal with, like, their mother wounds or their father wounds? Very few people. It's, as humans, we're kind of taught to, like, avoid and spiritually bypass. And we can't really do that anymore. We're in the age of Aquarius. Spiritually bypassing, not really gonna fly anymore. Your life's just going to get a lot more challenging and difficult if you're spiritually bypassing. So, the universe pushes these issues up. It brings us energy that pushes these issues up so that we can look at them, because you cannot heal something unless you look at it, right? So we'll get to that in a minute. During this time period of this full moon for the next couple weeks, you're going to want to kind of like Leo season, and I can say this because I'm a Leo, is Leos are very, I don't even know how to say this because I don't want it to sound negative, but it can be negative. Like, Leo is a sign very much of like very outgoing, center of attention, confident, right? Like, I don't mind being the center of attention in a room. I don't mind when all eyes are on me. Like, I'm outgoing, I'm confident, and I'm speaking for myself personally. And so normally in Leo season, that energy that comes in is very much like we're feeling ourselves, Leos, right? It's like, we're feeling ourselves. This particular energy coming in, full moon in Aquarius, we're going to kind of want to be humble a little bit. We're going to kind of want to step back and not be so boisterous or braggy, okay? The time is not now for that. You're going to want to be humble and play it a little bit more cool and let your work speak for itself, right? The energy coming in with this moon is going to be very much about like pushing us to achieve something, to reach our goals, to accomplish something. It's also, like I said, though, it's going to be intense. So things could get tense or irritating if there's too much of that, right? That's why we're going to want to pull back a little bit, not be so boisterous, not be so braggy, not be so like, look at me, I'm the center of attention, because that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way during this time. And that's partially because the universe is bringing this energy, forcing certain things to the surface so that we have to deal with them, right? So that we can look at these issues and deal with them. You might feel during this full moon a little bit of a tug of war within yourself, a little bit of like work versus home. Like you're going to feel that like, oh, I'm not doing enough at work. But then when you're at work, you're going to feel like I'm neglecting my home life. So this time period, we're kind of going to need to look at what our needs are versus what our wants are. Okay? Because as we all know, like we all have wants and desires, and those aren't always the things we need to be healthy and balanced and grow. So we're just going to want to keep that in mind, okay? And because of that, because of this little tug of war going on, and the energy is going to be intense, we may feel very drained during this time. It may just feel like the things you always do are a little bit more exhausting. And that's just because this energy is like very intense. Oh, got some smoke over here. Our candle just went out. Anyway. Okay. Also, what's going to be happening in this time, I talked about the mother wound. Any issues or scarring or unhealed aspects you may have from your childhood with your mother, whatever it may be, enmeshment, abandonment, just shame is one, these things might be coming up, which then means that's going to affect any romantic relationships you have going on right now, right? Because our childhood wounding affects how we are in relationships, because what was modeled for us is what, we learned of, like, when we watch our parents or the adults around us have romantic relationships, we kind of learn that that's what they're supposed to look like. And then sometimes we repeat those things. If we haven't healed any of those issues that we may have going on, right? So you may, during this time, feel some challenges and some tension in the relationship sector of your life, the romantic relationship sector I'm talking about, okay? This energy is going to make it there's going to be a lot of clarity. So it's going to be very easy to see anything in your relationship dynamics that are negative or causing disharmony. It's going to be very easy to see any negative relationship dynamics or negative patterns of behaviors that we're repeating or we've learned from the past. We're going to get a lot of clarity on that in the next several weeks. So that also could cause tension in our romantic relationships, right? Because you may be able to see clearly in your partner negative patterns and behaviors, and they may be able to see that clearly your negative patterns and behaviors and dynamics. And so that, again, goes back to what we were talking about. That's going to create tension and challenges, and that can be very draining. So we're also going to find during this time, this energy makes it hard. We're gonna feel like we're going to have trouble relaxing and resting, okay? Because this energy is very intense. So, and it's very much about like doing. So we're going to feel like I said, we're going to be pushed to like achieve something, to move towards our goal or to accomplish one of our goals. And when you couple that with this, with these wounds and things that may be coming up, if we're not careful and we don't slow down and be mindful, like it could be a tumultuous couple of months. So we're just going to want to keep that in mind, right? Also, depending on your mother wounds, if you have any, we all have them, but if you've healed them or not, you may be feeling more needier than usual in your relationship, okay? Or your partner may seem more needy than usual. And, and again, that's because of all of these mother wounds that are going to be coming up for us to look at. Sometimes, like, for example, there's a situation in my family, in my extended family, where there was like an abandonment issue. And because of that, the child gets very needy at certain times because his mother left and abandoned him, right? So he'll get very needy on the other female adults in the family because he has this fear of like abandonment, right? And so that's what I'm talking about. These like old childhood wounds may be resurfacing for us to look at. And if we don't look at them and address them and heal them, then, it's going to cause us some challenges and tension and struggles in our current life. Okay, so basically what I just said, I had written down that now is the time for us to address any unresolved issues from our relationship with our mother in childhood. Okay, we're going to want to try to overcome and heal these, because until we overcome and heal these wounds, we won't really be able to find like harmony and balance in our romantic relationships. And the same goes for the father wounds, okay? It's just that right now is the time we're focusing on mother wounds. Don't worry, I'm sure the father wounds are coming. The universe does everything in balance, right? Also, this energy can be overindulgent. Okay, so we're gonna want to be careful because we already have all this other stuff going on, right? We're gonna feel this need to like achieve something, and then we have all these mother wounds coming up, and then on top of that, this energy has a tendency to be overindulgent. So we're going to see a lot of things coming up around greed, guilt, addiction, right? And all of those things have to do with overindulgence, right? So we're going to just want to be careful, because this time period, the next several weeks, is ripe for like overdoing it. Spending too much money, drinking too much, drugging too much, whatever it is for you, exercising too much, because even exercise, too much of a good thing can be bad, right? So we're being pushed right now to figure out how to balance all of these qualities within ourselves that can lead us in the wrong direction, right? Because if we become overindulgent in anything, it can be dangerous for us and our health. So we're just going to want to be careful of that. And like I said, this energy not only is shining a light on all of our mother wounds, but in the greater collective, it's going to be shining the light on like a lot of greed and things that have been going on for years and years and years. So we're going to want to like walk this fine line. We're not going to want to go too far. And like I said earlier, right? We don't want to be too braggy or too boastful. We want to try to stay humble, because what? Bragging and boasting and all of that kind of is a little overindulgent, right? You're not just letting your work speak for itself and letting your actions speak. You're overindulging and reminding everybody how amazing you are. And that's, that's not, people always don't want to hear that. Not to mention, it's not always healthy for you to live in that place of like, look how great I am, right? That's how our ego becomes overinflated. And then, that leads us into all kinds of other problems. So some questions we're going to want to ask ourselves during this full moon is, are you putting too much pressure on yourself to succeed? And do you place too much of your identity on whether or not you're succeeding, whether or not you are what everyone thinks you should be, right? Like, do you put too much stock into like how the outside world views your successes? Okay. So that's kind of what we're going to want to ask ourselves. And again, this moon is about balancing our polarities, right? So humans have this tendency to swing from one extreme to the other, right? Because that's just how we do things. It's like the baby boomer generation didn't really like, well, this is not a great example, so let me use something different. So humans have this tendency when we see a problem, and usually the problem is extreme, right? We're all the way over here. It's like, oh, okay, this is a good one. Like, we don't recycle. Like, I'm just talking humans in general. In the 80s, there was no recycling, no nothing, right, going on. Then it was like somebody said, hey, we need to start focusing on this. So instead of like researching it and understanding it and doing things the right way, we just jumped in with 2 feet and then swung the pendulum all the way over here, right? So then it was like, now, instead of doing nothing, now we're doing so much stuff that we're running in circles, and some of the stuff we're doing isn't even really helping the environment like it should, okay? So humans have this tendency to either go way over here to one pole, and then when we realize, oh, look at all these problems this extreme is causing, instead of moving into the middle, we go way over to the other extreme, and then we're like, oh, now there's this whole other set of problems. When again, the answer is to walk somewhere in the middle, okay? So this energy, like I said, it's going to be intense. It's going to be irritating for a lot of people and cause tension for a lot of people. But what is happening is the universe is like forcing us to look at all these things so that we can start to find the middle ground, so that we can start to balance ourselves. And that goes with anything. And you relate, like I was talking earlier about bragging or boasting, right? Like, that's this extreme. I'm so great. Look at me. I'm so great. Then the opposite extreme is I'm quiet as a mouse and I don't ever take credit for anything, and I don't advance in my career because I just sit over here quietly waiting for people to recognize me, right? So the answer doesn't lie here and the answer doesn't lie here. The answer is somewhere in the middle. You have to learn how to balance and not get so deep in your ego that it's annoying to people, but you also can't be so quiet as a mouse and insecure that you get no recognition for your work at all, right? You have to learn to find, to walk in this middle area where you can balance those two energies. So that's what this moon coming up is all about. There's going to be a lot of extremes, and we're going to be able to see them very clearly. And the reason that is coming up is for us to look at it and for us to recognize and realize that, like, oh, we get into trouble when we're way over here and way over here. The answer is finding solutions somewhere in the middle. Okay? So something else, like I was saying, this energy could be irritating and tense for a lot of people. It could also make people overly defensive. Okay? Because if you're feeling tension and irritation, you don't really know why, then you're going to be very defensive with people. And this defensiveness is going to show up in communication as insecurity or uncertainty. All right? So if you're having a challenge with somebody in any situation and you notice them getting defensive, you need to kind of be mindful and conscious and remind yourself that, like, okay, this person, don't join in with them. And then because they're defensive, you get defensive, right? Nobody solves anything that way. You got to just remember that, like, oh, they might be feeling uncertain or insecure, and that's why they're getting so defensive. And so try to approach all your communication in these next several weeks with compassion and love, and try to pause. Right? Take that listen carefully and then try to take a pause and really be mindful about what comes out next, right? Because you don't want to just be reacting to things, because the energy is already ripe for tension and conflict. So if you're just reacting to things, forget about it. You're going to end up in a fight, and then when it's over, you're going to be like, wait a minute, how did we end up here, right? There's Sophia. She's had enough. She's like, get off, please. I know, sis. We'll go outside here when mommy's done, okay? I'm almost done. Okay, and I am almost done. We're going to wrap up and do these cards. So to alleviate these energies, if you're feeling tense and you're feeling this, like, I need to succeed, I need to achieve a goal, a way to kind of counteract that is going to be to lean into learning. Learn something new, okay? But this is for you as an individual, because now is not the time to be force-feeding your knowledge on other people, all right? Because everybody's got their own shit they're dealing with, and these mother wounds and these things are going to be coming up. And so the last thing, like, you want to deal with when you're dealing with your own stuff is somebody then trying to, like, force feed knowledge onto you, right? Okay, hey. Sorry, that's now both of the cats are out here and they've decided to wrestle. Okay, so we're gonna leave it there. Let's read these cards. Okay, so show the world the real you. Full moon in Aquarius. Aquarius. Anytime I say Aquarius, that's what I think in my head. It's the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius. I won't scare you all with my singing. Aquarius. Goodness gracious. Okay, it's like I couldn't even find it in the book. Okay. Show the world the real you. This card brings the message from the cosmos that you need to detach a little from whatever situation you're currently in. Someone may be keeping you at arm's length right now, but that's not a bad thing. It's important for you to allow life to unfold and progress, even if change seems like a frightening prospect. If you've been holding yourself back from showing the world the real you, this card reminds you that your unique characteristics are what make you special. Be yourself in whatever you do. Be aware of your feelings, but also be prepared to deal with them and move on. Every full moon is a time to release and let go, but the addition of Aquarian energy to the mix triples that message. Aquarius is the opposite of clingy, and pulling this card at any time suggests you either need to let go or someone is thinking they are the one who needs to let go. Whatever happens next could be highly unconventional or unexpected. Be mindful. Okay? Let's see. Spiritual team. What do we need to be focusing on healing during this full moon time? Or what will help us heal during this full moon time? What will help us heal? One card, please. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. So like 20 cards just fell on the floor. But the one card they want me to take is way off on its own. Like there's a pile of 20 and then there's one that's like 2 feet away face up. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. Now I'm moving the camera. Trying to pick it up. Jeez Louise. Okay. Goodness sakes. Here it is. Forward movement. Okay, we need to be focused on forward movement. Let's read what the book says. Nothing ever stays the same. Life is a constant state of change. This is an undeniable law of nature. You may feel you are in the middle of a challenging circumstance. Take heart and trust things are already changing for the better. Things are moving even though you cannot see it happening. Change comes in many ways. Some changes are quick while others are gradual. Once you agree to change and give up your resolve of resisting, you can access whatever is heading your way. The change that is coming into your life may concern your health. It may herald a change in a relationship. It could be something else entirely. However it manifests, there is a positive energy in this change. It is going to take place. You're being asked to trust and keep your heart open to whatever comes your way. Butterflies tow a fairy sitting on a rose carriage. The rose indicates balance and faith. The butterflies signify change, but also grace and a soul connection. The fairy is being moved over a beautiful landscape. The various hues in this artwork represent different chakras. The purple represent the crown chakra. The blue is associated with the throat. Pink is connected to the ear chakra. Yellow relates to the solar plexus. If your eye is drawn to a specific color, it may indicate a chakra that needs balancing. Ultimately, the place you are moving towards is better than the place you are currently in. Okay, so that's a really good card. And I feel like that's a really good message. And this is basically telling us that, like, now is the time. Deal with whatever's coming up and step into who you are. Because that'll only bring, like, all this positivity. Okay, with that, we're going to leave it. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, evening, weekend, morning, night, whatever it is, whatever time you're watching. Wishing you lots of love and light. Have a wonderful rest of your experience. Namaste.